What difference at this point does it make?
I don't know the specific questions. I know.
Well, either you know or you don't know.
You cannot know what I know. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wheel of Freedom.
Hey.
I'm Phil Marie. We got Wally Kopaczynski. It's another night here at Metrocast. Another night, another week, Wally.
Very good.
What do you got to say to everyone? Anything?
Well, I hope they have a good New Year.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we have a good New Year. Tonight's show we have the attorney, Shawn Abrell, calling in. He'll be calling in within the next 5 minutes, and we're going to talk about being targeted. Pretty much the stuff I've been through. I know he wants to talk Haarp. A lot of you viewers are aware of Haarp, which is up in Alaska.
Yep.
And there's a lot of weird stuff with this, and I'll mention this to Shawn, that all of a sudden there's Haarp beer, there's Haarp health insurance, so they come out with these different names to cover up the name Haarp, so that when you hear the word Haarp, you never think of this huge, massive antenna thing up in Alaska. So, and then he wants to talk about the RFID, the microchipping. And we have a few other surprises. Actually, the Navy Yard shooter, Aaron Alexis, remember him?
Yep.
Believe it or not, he reached out to Shawn. Shawn didn't know who he was.
Is that right?
Shawn had no idea. He was begging for help. And he has the emails. And I think he might even read them tonight.
Yeah, well, maybe if you could bring it up.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. And one of his biggest goals is about the children being targeted, and we've been talking about that. And that was one of my issues. And I know a lot of people want to hear the story, what happened up in New Hampshire, and I hear it over and over. And it's very intense, very how can I say it? It's way more than an hour show, but while we're waiting for Shawn to call, briefly, for the new viewers, when all this trouble started, it was in May of 2007. I applied to a game show on NBC, Deal or No Deal, with Howie Mandel. And I've never mentioned this, but I have a cousin who's an actor. He's a midget. He was involved too, I think, with this mess. I haven't mentioned his name. He appeared on Seinfeld with Kramer, Kramer's buddy Mickey.
That's a cousin of yours?
Yeah. He's my cousin, and I think he was involved with this crap too. But nonetheless, within 10 days of applying to the game show, and I have to try to do this real quick here, I noticed I was being stalked, a lot of cars running by my house back and forth. My house is no more than 30 feet from the road, the size of this room. It was summertime, May, June, July, August, and it caused me a couple of nervous breakdowns. My house was filling full of fumes from the cars. It was an old house, drafty, and so as this went on, that fall, September 2007, that's when my house got bugged, the truck got bugged, and at the same time, that's when the microwave hits started shocking me. And this was under the Bush administration. They would not stop shocking me, and if there's children, I apologize, but in the private part there. And they, thousands, 10,000 times. I mean, I was in my shower, flinching, jumping, back and forth, moving, trying to get away. Yeah, that's Shawn on hold. So But one of the biggest issues I have is that there was a young girl involved, 11-year-old girl that was up there. And her teachers were telling her that people were watching her in her room. She had people talking to her in the bathroom. They're watching her naked. The police knew about it. The sheriff's department knew about it. The school knew about it. And nobody did nothing. Up in New Hampshire, it's the good old boys club. And I see phone line 1. Shawn can hear us right now.
Oh, good.
On
Very
hold.
good.
He can hear us. And so one of the biggest concerns, I mean, I have an issue as it is with grown men staring at another man in a shower, in a bathroom, and what have you. And that's a good way to get your teeth knocked out. And if I could ever see Mandel, I would rip his eyes out. Then he could never do this again to anybody. But this story was so evil that it takes a long time, and it would take me several hours to go through the whole thing. And but where this girl was involved, real quick before we get Shawn on the line, they also used a local radio station, an FM station, 102.9 WBLM was a rock station out of Portland, Maine. And the neighbors of my ex-fiance invited us over for Thanksgiving. I realized that these DJs were repeating everything that was going on in our room at the house. It was weird. And then the young girl was crying. She missed her dad and kept crying. Then all of a sudden the DJs started, and this is so evil, they start going, wah, wah, I miss my daddy on Thanksgiving. And they kept doing this for like 5 minutes straight as this girl's crying. I'm horrified. And as it is, people think I'm crazy up there. I couldn't interrupt and say, what is going on in this house? But the Gaudette residents, this same guy, Larry Gaudette, worked for Alan Eastman, the guy, my neighbor behind me. And Alan Eastman was the guy that was running this whole thing up there, that was letting them park behind my house. But we're gonna bring Shawn on and talk more about it. Hello, Shawn, you there?
Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Good, Shawn.
Hi, Shawn. How you doing? This is Wally.
Good. Hey, Wally. How you doing, sir?
Hanging in there.
Good. So
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I told the viewers that that you're on tonight with us for the hour, and we're going to talk about certain things. I mentioned Haarp. I mentioned the RFID. The issue with Google. I even mentioned about Aaron Alexis, and about children being targeted. When I say mentioned, just the same thing I'm doing right now, Shawn. I just
Sure.
And so I would like to start, Shawn, with this love intel, what the NSA is doing to people.
Sure. I just wanted to maybe go back a little bit to give a preface before this, is that what we're talking about is a technology that has been around since 1958. And in 1958, a gentleman by the name of Pat Flanagan developed what's called a neurophone, which essentially allowed for telepathic communication. And then in there was a second one he made, which was didn't have the cumbersome devices that the first one had, and it could essentially be worn by applying electrodes to your body in two different places, and then you could hear actual people's thoughts. That was clear back in 1958 and 1960. 68, so before 1970. And then, so the government at that point in time was fully aware of how to create synthetic telepathy. So that's what one of the primary things that we're talking about with this technology. And all that technology is operated in what we call the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning essentially radiation. They use radiation to make these devices work and to communicate. And what they found was that the frequencies from 0.3 to 3 gigahertz could create the synthetic telepathy. They could use those frequencies to create the synthetic telepathy. And later on, they found out that they could what's called heterodyne onto sound additional by using these frequencies, which are most of you can't hear them. They're too high frequency for you to hear, but they were able to what they call heterodyne onto these frequencies sound, which your body could sense. And interestingly enough, those are patents clear back from, like I said, the 50s and 60s. And through the course of time, we've seen a few other patents come forth, such as Microsoft's body patents, a body as network, where the whole body could be used to transmit audio and data signals across the body. And that was a patent given in 2000. Now, we progressed a little bit, and interestingly enough, in just recent months, a lot of technology that has been previously been considered top secret is now being put into the public full force. And we see this from companies such as not only Microsoft, but companies such as Motorola and Google, which owns Motorola. And Google in particularly, I just wanted to mention that they came out the end of last year with a couple of interesting devices. And one of the devices is a pill that they want you to swallow every day in order that you can authenticate your cell phone. I mean, you don't have to log on to your computer, or you don't have to log on to your cell phone or punch in the code to make your cell phone work. They call that, they believe that if everyone was microchipped, that they would save the world all this hassle for having to authenticate themselves, 30, 40 times a day, sometimes more. Some of these kids are probably checking their cell phones 200-300 times a day. So every time they log onto the phone, they have to enter their code or whatever. So that's kind of how they're selling this technology, one of the ways. And another device that Google's coming out with through, I believe it's Motorola, who does all their advanced technologies apparently. Now the interesting thing about Motorola is Google hired Regina Dugan, who was the former DARPA, who was the former head of DARPA. And so she is now running Google's advanced technology division at Motorola. And she's been quoted as saying that people would want to swallow this pill daily in order to obtain, quote, the superpower of having their entire body act as a biological authentication system for cell phones, cars, doors, and other devices. Essentially, when you swallow the pill, the acids inside your stomach serve as electrodes that power it up, and then it switches on and off and creates an 18-bit ECG-wide signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes an authentication token, unquote. They said that this pill has already been FDA approved, and so that's one of the types of devices that we're looking at. This is not science fiction. This is nothing I'm making up. This is what Google is now